I've eaten a lot of raccoon. Yes. The answer is yes. And I've eaten it hunting. I've actually had it served by my mom at the table away from hunting. And I have eaten raccoon. And yes, it's not uncommon at all. I'll tell you something that there's one of my favorites, the squirrel. And it's wonderful, and my mother could do a great job of it. And we all had our favorite pieces, and my dad and sister, I have one sibling, a sister, and they would fight over, not fight, but my mom and I, they were just, my sister and I as four siblings, my mom and I wouldn't even ask for the brain in a squirrel.
Oh, man.
And delicious, seriously.
My dad loves cow
My
brain.
sister always got it, or my dad.
The fight over the brain. Jared?
Good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. What's up, Joe Boo? As well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. We are just a few hours away from the Senior Bowl today, the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Kicks off at 2:30, 4.5 hours from now. And this is the future talent of the NFL. And there is so much that's going on. We, of course, got our coaching staff, our scouts, and everything there, talking to players, looking at them and things. And I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be 100% real with you. I am not the draft guru guy. I am not the guy that knows all the prospects and stuff. I spend so much time with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL that me and my wife have an agreement, and that is because when I do something all, or I don't do it at all. If I'm working on like this red brick house, I literally worked myself fingers to the bones on it and even stepped on nails. And when I try and do my YouTube with that Dallas Cowboys, it is all-encompassing. You guys know how many videos we do a day. For me to do college, I can't do it the same way. There's no way I can still be married. So we have an agreement that you can do all the NFL, Cowboys and everything else, but you can't do two sports because it's like there won't be any time for her. I'll do some. And in fact, I did in 2016, and probably the reason why you're here now is because of the Senior Bowl in 2016. In 2016, the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff, because we weren't going to Super Bowls, was the coaching staff for the Senior Bowl, Jason Garrett and crew. And we were all looking at a quarterback that was going to be the heir apparent for the Cowboys, which was Carson Wentz. And so I actually watched the Senior Bowl for the first time that year. And as I was watching it, there was this guy named Dak Prescott that nobody had really talked much about who played better than Carson Wentz. And so I did something that I normally don't do, which is I started really looking at the prospect. And I'm saying, who is this guy and why is nobody talking about him? And I looked because he went to Mississippi State, which is a school that's playing in the toughest conference in college football versus Carson Wentz playing Division I AA. And I saw a guy who would run when he had to, who didn't have a lot of talent per se around him, and I thought he was great. And so I did a video right after the Senior Bowl, and I said, this is the perfect quarterback for, well, actually Joe Boo said it. That was back when I was doing all the Joe Boo talking, that he's the perfect quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And nobody watched it. Nobody watched it until Tony Romo got hurt. And that video started taking off, getting a whole bunch of views, and that began my journey. And in 2016, right around my birthday in October, I got my first 1,000 subscribers. So I took off when Dak Prescott took off. Maybe that shades me a little bit because I've always had an affection for Dak Prescott and what he does. And maybe it's because that's where I see the beginning of this channel. I don't know, but that transpired 9 years ago. So maybe we'll see a player today that's out there that becomes another future star for the Dallas Cowboys. There will be future stars that are there playing today, and you want to pay attention. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, what a difference a week makes. A week ago, we were waking up to the fact that the Cowboys have decided that they were hiring the guy who everybody basically said fell off the salad truck. Brian Schottenheimer. We fired a coach that nobody wanted, and we hired a coach that nobody wanted. That's a Cowboy thing, that the Cowboys didn't do their research and things like that. And even at the press conference, we got a Stephen Jones who was literally air quoting us, basically saying, F your feelings about the playoff drought, the laughing stuff. But here we are a week later, and they've trashed the Cowboys, which is what they do because that gets you the clicks. We got Cam Newton basically saying the Cowboys are tanking so that way they can get Arch Manning. And I'm still trying to understand how the hell, if without Dak Prescott having $110 million on injured reserve, we still won 7 games. How the hell we're going to basically win none to get the number 1 pick to draft a college guy that we haven't even seen for a whole season yet? I don't know how that even happens. I don't know how that's even possible. But, it sounds great, of course, on paper. And, of course, everybody now believes that the Eagles will be the greatest team in football, that they're head and shoulders above the Cowboys, and that the Commanders are the same thing and that the Cowboys are so far behind. But I want to remind you of a couple of things. In recent observations, let me ask you about the San Francisco 49ers from last year to this year. Everybody looked and said, they're the top team in football, one of the top teams. Got a good chance to go back and try and get some revenge on Kansas City. How'd that team do this year? I'll wait. Still waiting. Because they were nothing like the team they were before. Injuries, Super Bowl hangover. How about the New York Giants a couple seasons ago? Everybody thought that, oh my God, the New York Giants, they've broken through. Danny Dimes with Saquon. Oh, they finally got their shit together. They got the coach, Diebold. They got the Danny Dimes. They got Saquon, young team. They're up and coming. How'd that work out for them after 1 year in the playoffs? So we don't know what the turnover is going to be. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody predicted the San Francisco 40. Oh, I actually said that they're coming back down to earth. I did say that. I said the Super Bowl hangover is real. I didn't think they were going to come crashing and burning like they did, but they did. So you don't know. And even if the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy, had they stayed healthier, they probably would have had a chance to win 10 games, 11 games, maybe make the playoffs. It's not inconceivable just getting back some of the players that we lost that were a better team. It's not like we won 7 games and we had all of the players on our roster that should be starting. With a multitude of injuries, with some of the guys that will get back and some of the guys that will hopefully take another step forward. Mozzie Smith took a step forward. Osun Digasua took another big step forward. And you're going to have that with guys. Maybe Tyler Guyton takes a step forward. Let's hope we don't take a step back. And so those are things that you look at as the positive. And that's the reason, part of the reason why they stuck with Brian Schottenheimer. It may have been that wasn't their original plan, but it may end up being the better plan. And I'm going to say that I feel like the new word for the Cowboys is change. We're hearing change. I've heard Stephen Jones say change so many times, that Brian Schottenheimer brings a stability and change. Well, when I look at Stephen Jones from Monday with this air quotes of, well, when you have problems like you did last year, and you have to go through and evaluate the things that didn't go right, and obviously where it didn't go right last year, and in terms of the playoff drought that people talk about, it's not that's not what people talk about. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's not like people talking about. It's not like something they made up. It's not conspiracy theory. It's real. And going into that press conference where literally nobody clapped for him, I think Stephen Jones got a dose of reality, because I feel like he's changed a bit. From Mobile, he's almost apologized and done a walk of shame. Listen in to him. I meant to. This is where I meant to be last night, and I didn't want to play the whole thing. But listen,
you haven't rounded out the staff entirely yet. But where do you feel like the alignment is right now between you guys in the front office, Brian's coaching staff, and now Will's personnel team?
I think we're fully aligned. I mean, you have to be. I mean, that's key to me to winning championships. I mean, Will has to have the same vision that Coach Schottenheimer has, and the front office has to have that same vision that, hey, here's what we want in a Dallas Cowboy football player. Here's how we're going to go out and win football games. Here's how we're going to do it together, and you move forward. Obviously, we hadn't gotten it right in quite some time.
We haven't gotten it right.
At the end of the day, our goal's what our fans want, which is we want to win playoff games, we want to win championships, we want to win Super Bowls.
Kind of along the same lines, there was a lot of talk about family and continuity in the press.
So did y'all hear that? Did you? I mean, it could be just bullshit, but you look at Stephen Jones here, a more serious Stephen Jones. In fact, I'll say a resolved Stephen Jones, that maybe the weight of everybody basically saying, you suck, Catboy, the Dallas Cowboys are a joke, having the Eagles and the Commanders literally in the NFC Championship game, guys that you figured we're better off without are succeeding, and you look like a freaking idiot. That maybe this time they're getting up off the mat. Am I crazy? Because this doesn't look like the the so-called drought that people are talking about. You don't get the shit-eating grin right here. You don't. And sometimes you are forced to grow the F up. And maybe this is all now the dose of reality that he needed as a wake-up call, because they're actually putting together a really good staff right now. They've been joked all week long. We've heard them joked about and laughed about and everything else, the Cowboys and things like that. Yeah, you could say the initial hiring was hurried. But we as fans, we need to give this thing a chance. We need to go ahead and move on from how the Cowboys got here, because you're looking at some very respected coaches that are coming in here to work with the Cowboys. If they follow it up with getting Osa and Digazua back, and do go through and try and work on their two biggest weaknesses. If I had $1 for every time I said our biggest problems are we cannot stop the run because we don't control the middle of the field and we don't run the football in the playoffs. People always just want to blame Dak Prescott and say he's not enough to overcome. And you're 100% right. He's not enough to overcome us unable to stop teams running the football. And you have to have a balance of running game. And this is really, this is a little critique on Caton Adams. I think most of the guys always want to check the run box games, Jones said. Most of these guys are very, if you will, fluent when it comes to throwing the ball around the yard. But you always want a great offensive line coach, a great running game coordinator, and, of course, the key to this and time is to marry that run game to the pass game. The run game is an area that the Cowboys struggled at certain points during the 24 season. I'm going to say they struggled even the year before, even though we were 12-5. And when you look at us in the playoffs, probably in the last couple of seasons, we've averaged about under 70 yards a game running the football. And that's with your quarterback getting like 25 to 30 yards of that. You have to have a semblance of a running game. The run game is an area of the Cowboys. Okay, with Brian Schottenheimer at the helm, Jones wants a large part of their offensive identity to be part of the running game. We want to be able to run the ball. Everyone says we want to run the ball. And see, here's the thing that I want you to understand. If you've never played football, if you're an offensive lineman, you love to run the football. Because I'll put it this way. Running the football is more aggressive. You as an offensive lineman, you got a guy in front of you. Your job is to blow him out of the hole, or you're going to be pulling and going into the hole, and you're at full speed trying to knock somebody on their ass. Running the football is Nathaniel. You're putting more weight on your hands so you can fire out. You're double teaming a guy, right? One's high, one's low. When guy's engaged up, you're hitting him right in the hip and you're blowing him out of there. You're going off to the next level to hit the linebacker. It's very, very aggressive, and it's easier. Pass blocking is more defensive, because what you're doing is you're basically setting your pass blocking, and you are trying to see what the defense is doing. It's more passive. And if you're the left tackle or right tackle, you're basically out on that island where you're going to have to go ahead and figure out, where's this guy going? Is he going to do a spin? Is he going to try and swim? Is he going to do a bull rush? I got to be able to defend all of these things. Is it going to be an X stunt where the tackle goes out and the end goes around him, and then that means I got to pass off one guy to the guard? It's harder to pass block. And if you become one-dimensional, where they know we're setting you up as an offensive lineman, we know your weaknesses, and we're going to attack those, it's easy for the defense. Because the defense, as soon as that ball snapped, they're getting upfield because we know we're going after you. If there is not a knowledge of if it's going to be a run or a pass, then I first have to play the run. And then find out it's a pass and then get upfield. There's a hesitation. And this is how you help your offensive lineman. This is how you help your quarterback. That hesitation. If you are good at play action, what happens with the linebackers and the safety, you get 8 men in the box. The linebacker, because they're worried about stopping the run, they see the running back coming to the line, the quarterback going to him with the ball. They are getting sucked in. They are stopping to figure out where's the running back going so I can fill and scrape. They're working their way towards the line of scrimmage. You fake that ball, you fake it, and you bootleg, as in the quarterback goes outside. Now the linebackers are caught up in here. They've taken a step or two forward to stop the run. Now they've got to stop. They've got to backpedal and get into coverage or scrape down to the outside to try and get the RPO, the run-pass option from the quarterback. Same thing with being able to use, and Brian Schottenheimer says he wants to give the same look with different plays. That's where I just love 12 personnel. Is it a pass play? Is it a run play? You don't know as a defender, so you've got to cover everything. And too many times with the Cowboys where we just say, and not just with Dak, but even with Tony Romo, you weren't worried about the run, so you could cover everybody. You could put more people in coverage, and you could let the dogs loose to get after the quarterback. And this is why it's going to be important for the Cowboys to be able to mix that run and pass, to get close to balance on the run, passing 50-50 instead of the 65-35, or being ineffective with the run. If you're not effective with the run, we ain't got to send anybody extra in there. We don't have to put 8 men in the box. And so the advantage is then to the defense, and we've left a lot on the table because of it.
Conference with Brian the other day, and getting a guy that you know, Eberflus, to come back, how much does that help that alignment, knowing how he is as a person coming in?
I mean, we call it both things. We want continuity, but we also want change. And obviously what we've done, hadn't gotten the job done. We accept that. We accept that our fans can have frustration that we hadn't gotten that job done, and you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect expect something to change. So we need to change.
We did that for 30
but at the
years.
same time, we've got a lot of things right. And so there's a lot of continuity we want to keep as well. So the combination of continuity but also change is why Coach Schottenheimer's our coach.
Stephen, you mentioned marrying the run game with the pass game. Where would you say you prioritize that specific position just in this offseason in general?
I think all these things are priorities. I mean, everybody says, well, they say everything's a priority. Well, it is. I mean, we have a lot of things to get done. And, we have a job to do. We haven't gotten the job done. And we understand that. I mean, we hadn't had success in the playoffs. We hadn't won a Super Bowl in years. And we have to change that. And the only way you're going to change that is prioritize the things that, in our mind, will change the narrative. And until we do that, we know there'll be question marks. We know we'll be questioned. Jerry and I will be questioned. Coach Schottenheimer will be questioned until he does it, and so we will.
Have you guys had any recent?
So there you have it. And I'm going to say that Stephen Jones right now is a lot different Stephen Jones than what we got on Monday. That seemed to be a more humbled Stephen Jones that recognizes we ain't done shit. I don't know if this is just bullshit or if it's going to actually be the case. I hope that it's going to be the case that all of a sudden we actually are going to try and do everything we can to be the best team that we can. So with that, I'm going to finish this off because I think that this is a great take. When I say that the players all are buying into Brian Schottenheimer, and you're hearing good things about him, of course, everybody says, well, of course, what are they going to say? That's going to be their coach and stuff. They're going to, of course, support him. I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't mean I have to show up for the press conference and things. Because most of the players understand that I am an independent contractor. I get a 1099 at the end of the year. And so understanding that they don't necessarily say, I'm going to show up at a press conference in the off season. But they did. But Quandre Diggs, former defensive player, had some really great things to say about Brian Schottenheimer, about shoddy shots. Oh, and I got Tracy working on a shoddy shots shirt for me.
I thought it was a great idea. Certainly the Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer. You have a relationship with Schottenheimer from your days in Seattle, certainly, as well as Andre Curtis. Just from a Schottenheimer standpoint, just what are your thoughts on him? How did he interact with the players? Your opinion of him as a Cowboys coach?
I mean, I think Shotty's phenomenal with, building relationships with the players. I'm a defensive guy, and, I had a relationship with Shotty that was pretty cool, and you can go to him, you ask him questions, he's going to give you honest answers. But he's very detail-oriented. Every time he stood up in front of the team, guys respected and loved, what he brought to the table. And you respected it because you felt like you knew that what he said he was going to tell you in those meetings, that's what you was going to get out of him. I think he can command the room. I think he's been there. Those guys know him. They know what they expect. And I think the offense will be in good hands. And, with the defense staff they building around, I think Shotty's going to, be hands off with that and, kind of let the defensive coordinator do their thing and, kind of just manage that way.
Yeah, Quandre, we talked to some players with the Cowboys too, and obviously Schottenheimer's with the offense here in Dallas as well. But they also said, we loved building a relationship with him and kind of what he brought from that culture standpoint. I'm just curious if you kind of elaborate on, how does a defensive or an offensive coach build relationships with defensive guys? Because I think some fans think they're two separate rooms, two separate things. How does Brian Schottenheimer go about kind of doing that?
I mean, I think he just goes out his way doing walkthroughs and, doing time where the offense and defense are together and defense might be up or offense might be up and he's just going around just talking to guys and letting guys know who he is, you know what I mean, and not necessarily just worried about the offensive guys. He wants guys to respond to him both ways, and I think that's the best way to do it, you know what I mean. And it's kind of my instance here, like with Brian Callahan. He was our quarterback coach in Detroit when I was there, and I had a relationship with Cali before I got here in Tennessee. So I think it's just, the offensive guys knowing that they have to reach out and have a relationship. And, how could you be an offensive coordinator and not have a relationship with Micah Parsons or, with Trayvon Diggs and those type of guys? So you got to talk to those guys. You got to be around those guys. And I think when the defensive guys can feel the offensive coach, it takes a little bit of that tension versus defense and things like that.
Quandre Diggs, NFL safety, played under or played with Brian Schottenheimer in Seattle. From a discipline perspective, your time being around Brian Schottenheimer in Seattle, how is he when it comes to discipline, whether it's pre-snap penalties, whether it's late for meetings, whether
big.
it's, when you're looking from the defensive side, if the team jumped off sides or the team ran a wrong route or, had a holding penalty, how was that handled by Brian Schottenheimer?
I mean, he did address those things on Mondays, offensive, penalties, things like that. He addressed them in the meeting in front of everybody. And, that was from Russ. That was from Russ to DK to Tyler Lockett to Chris Carson to different things like that. Fumbles, holdings. He addressed all those things. And guys understood it. You know what I mean? That's part of the coaching, and that's part of what it is. But I've heard, from him being in meetings where, guys had certain things as that he didn't feel like was, great in meetings, not sitting up in meetings and things like that. I think he addressed those things. And, obviously, Shotty's been around the league a long time. His daddy was a great coach. So he's been around it for such a long time that I'm sure he knows how to handle discipline. And I know he knows how to do it the right way.
Andre Curtis, you played under him, defensive back coach up at Seattle. He's going to be the defense passing game coordinator. Certainly he's going to have an impact on defense. What kind of coach is he? What can Cowboys expect? What can players expect from Andre Curtis?
I mean, I love Dre. Dre's a military guy. He's a guy that's very, all about details. And one thing Dre's not going to do, he's not going to disrespect you. He's not going to, yell and curse at you. But he demands the respect on just the way he handles himself and the way he goes about his business. And he's always going to have a story for you. You know what I mean? So guys might as well get ready for that. He's going to have a story for you almost every day, and that's going to cut into your meeting time. So you need to make sure that, you're doing some extra studying. But, as far as like being a coach, he's all about the details and his technique. And he's going to let his players play. That's all you can expect. That's all as a player like myself, that's what you really want, is somebody that's going to let you play and have fun and, do the things that you do. So I love Dre. He's one of my favorite people. I talked to him the other day when I congratulated him on the new job. And, I think he'll be a good fit out there.
All right. So it sounds like the Cowboys are changing a lot of things. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get a different result. All righty, good people. As always, you know how we roll. We got to get up out of here. And I thank you all for watching and being part of the Jobu Sports Report.
I can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Yourself.